Welcome back to the carpet, but we still have a Halloween themed video just for you. This was a quick pattern, but it's super simple because it's a spider web. Now, I would not recommend decorating these with the kitten around because the kitten just made a show of taking down the spider webs decorating my room. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so we're gonna start right away with all of the supplies. I'm using a 12 peg round loom and looming hook and then some super bulky yarn. This is a number 6 and it's 100% polyester. It's called Bernay. And then you'll need some scissors, your crochet hook, which is an optional tool but is really helpful, and then your yarn needle. I use a metal one. Really, the truth behind it is I sometimes lose my plastic one and I sometimes lose my metal one. Alright, so we're gonna get started with a slip knot. You can either do a knot or a slip knot, but the whole ultimate point is you're going to attach it to the anchor peg and tighten. Now we're going to be doing a drawstring cast on. You do this by going in between the first and the last peg, which is right there, and then you're going to go in and out between all of the pegs in a zigzag fashion, and it kind of creates a star shape. And then once you get to the end of the loom, which won't take you too long, then you're going to go behind the first peg or lay your yarn over all of the pegs. Then you're going to brace it against the last peg and lift the bottom loop over the top loop. Now you'll notice that every other peg has a loop and every other peg doesn't, so just lift the pegs of every other loop with 2 loops. And there goes my camera. That was a scenic shot of what happens when the kitten knocks down my tripod. So I need to stop filming with him in the room, but it's kind of funny. So kind of funny but irritating at the same time. So it's funny when I edit and then it's not so funny when I'm actually doing it. But anyway, there's your cast on. It should now be complete. And it's perfectly normal that your first peg is empty. Hold up. What is empty? First peg is empty. Do you hear what I'm hearing? Let's just make that more significant. Empty. Okay, whatever. Now you're going to be doing a E-wrap stitch, so you're just laying your yarn over the first peg, and you're wrapping the first peg, second peg, all the way back to front. So you're just wrapping the pegs back to front, then when you get to the last peg, you're going to lift the bottom loop over the top loop of the last peg to brace it, and then you're going to go backwards, lifting all of the bottom loops over the top loops, until you get to the first peg, and you'll repeat again. It's going to start creating that web. Roughly, I did about 5 rows, which did not take me very long. It probably took 10 minutes on the project, which is really cool. So the E-wrap automatically does that and you don't really need to do anything else. Once you have your desired length, which shouldn't be too long, then you're going to get ready to bind off, which I'll show you in a second. So here's what my 5 or 6 rows looks like, and now it's time to do a drawstring cast off. So you're going to need your scissors, your crochet hook, all your weaving in tools. We're going to start off by wrapping the yarn around in a circle, and then you're going to take out a little bit of extra yarn and snip it. Now you're going to act as if you're purling. Oh, there's the kitten. Just don't mind him. He's he got his head stuck in the loom. Again, I probably should not have filmed with him in the room, but it was kind of entertaining. You're going to act as if you're purling, go down into the loop from the top, and then you go and pick up at one. You're pulling your yarn all the way through and securing it and weaving it in. So once you get to the last peg, then you're just going to go backwards, kind of like the E-wrap, and pop off all of the loops completely. And then the very last part is weaving in, and weaving in is basically securing your yarn. Now, I don't technically have a specific process in which I weave in. The best way that works for me is I typically will go into the fabric from the end that I don't want to be shown. And in this case, it was the bumpier end, and the smoother end that looked more like a spider's web I kept up. And then I tied loops or knots into the fabric. The reason why I did this was so that the drawstrings would not pull tight and closed all the time. So I did a drawstring cast off because it looks a little bit frillier, more like a spider's web. You just don't need to pull it all the way through like you would in a traditional drawstring. Then after that point, you will cut all of your excess yarn strands and you will be completely finished with your spider's web. This project is really nice for beginners because it only uses one simplistic stitch, then it just uses a series of repetitive stuff that you can definitely apply to any project you do on a loom. So if you are a beginner, I hope that you had a really fun time doing this, because this is so easy, and I wish I would have started out with this when I was a beginner, because I started doing a stuffed animal and that was way more difficult. Even though I did manage to do it, it just looked really terrible. Anyway, that's a story for a different time in a different video, because it'll be a long one. But yes, this project took about 15 to 20 minutes. Pretty simple. You can make these for your family and friends. You can have your kitten attack it and play with it. Ozzy was actually really entertaining. He was just full of himself the day that I filmed, and I tried to tape it to the wall and it looked really good there, and I was going to do some other ones, and no matter how high I seemed to do it, Ozzy was jumping high enough where he was tearing it off of the wall. I have a little bit of a montage of that just for you, and if you have any fake spiders, which I happen to not have any, you should definitely put them on your webs. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I'm really excited because it's cool to know that people like to learn these kind of projects, so it shows your support if you subscribe, and it makes me think, okay, well obviously people want to see some more content, so I'll keep creating as long as you keep sticking with me. And leave a comment down below. It doesn't just have to be what you thought of the video, it can definitely be a project suggestion. I had a project suggestion just come up today, which worked out perfectly. I post every Friday, and this project suggestion was a big giant pumpkin, which I mentioned in my last video on loom knitted pumpkins. So I am definitely going to do that next week. Until next week, guys, Radiolite Knits out.